Alright guys, so I've already produced a video today with this deck list for Dragon Ball Super, but I decided to playtest it and I wanted to make a few adjustments to it and post what adjustments I actually made. So this is a Dragon Ball Super deck that I designed today. The idea was to put a lot of different decks together into one crazy deck, and so I did this, and since it's so many different colors, I was looking online before I made my previous video. I was like, what can I call this deck? So I looked online and I looked at national flags that were red, yellow, green, and black, and Zimbabwe had a really cool flag design, so I decided to name the deck Team Zimbabwe. And shout out to Zimbabwe. I've never been there, but I've heard good things about that place. Anyway, this is the deck that I've actually created. It is a four-color deck. It's quite an interesting build, so let me go ahead and break it out. If you watched my previous video, you already kind of know what we're going to do with this deck, but I did adjust some of the numbers, and I haven't tested this particular list, but I made my adjustments after losing to a Chain Attack Zeno. It was a really long and really close game, but ultimately the Chain Attack Zeno did me in. And that's not really metagame right now. I don't see too many Chain Attack Zenos in my metagame, but I decided that I would make some tweaks to the main board to maybe have a bit of a better matchup against that sort of a strategy. And so this is what we've got. So for black, I'm still rocking the same 2 World Peace and 2 Child's Wish here, and I'm still rocking the Shinrons, but I bumped the numbers up in the main board. You see, so I got more. I don't really know how I managed to make all this room for these cards, but I was able to make a little bit more room than I thought I was going to be able to make with this list, and so I adjusted the numbers and fit in all of the juicy stuff that I needed to fit in. And you can see I cut Power Burst down to 1, and I'll explain why when we get to the other colors in the deck. So yeah, the adjustment to the Dragon Balls that I made was I upped the Porunga Dragon Ball by 1, and I went down on the 1-star by 1 because I feel like you can still do the 1-star mechanic reliably enough and as frequent enough as you need to with this split. But, either way, I think it would work if I split with an extra 1-star or a less 1-star, whatever. It's just basically in the deck because I'm sort of immune. Playing a Shenron leader, I'm sort of immune to like whatever might be pitched off the 1-star because I can recycle it later. My opponent might not have that luxury. So against non-Dragon Ball opponents, non opponents that are not playing Shenron, then the 1-star is really good. Against opponents that are playing Shenron, the 1-star is kind of meh. But it's just what you get. I guess the price of playing the game. The same for super combos, Temporal Rescue Trunks. The same split on the two desire cards that everyone should be playing if they play a Dragon Ball leader, a Shenron leader, I should say. And then, yeah, I really didn't like one Shenron, so I made room for another Shenron for sure. And I bumped the Porunga up as well because I feel like that is a solid answer to Chain Attack Zeno, more or less, because it's my Chain Attack Zeno if you think about it, and when it's not doing anything, it's drawing me cards. So, yeah, I decided that I would put that in the deck as well. We went down on the Power Burst because the Power Burst actually only grabs a black 1-drop. One black battle card with energy cost 1, okay? And then you add it to your hand. So I can only really grab this particular black battle card because I don't play the Vegeta Zeno, the 1-drop Black Mass Saiyan. I don't play that. I feel like that's a good card. I might decide to run it in this deck actually, but the way that this deck has been playing, it's really heavy on black, too heavy on black in fact, and because it's running discard and even more green to add more discard to the deck, I feel like the hand hate is so strong in this deck that I really don't care about playing a Vegeta to dilute my deck to make you drop 2 more cards in the off chance that you play a Dragon Ball leader and you're playing a Wish, because that's what that guy is for. You would main deck the Black Mass Saiyan against the Dragon Ball player because when they go Child's Wish, World Peace, whatever, they drop 2. Well, against that card, I always have like 8 or 9 cards in hand, and I don't mind dropping, so I'm kind of don't even care if it's on the other side of the table. And so I've never really seen it be extremely good in most of my matches. There has been a few where it's blindsided me, but more recently, the Black Mass Saiyan is just kind of weak. It is a good target for Power Burst, so I think that's why people are running it. But I feel like in the right deck, Dangerous Journey Bulma is a superior target for Power Burst. There is only one in this deck because it is basically in there as an Elixir of Immortality to stop me from decking out. If my opponent actually hits this off of like a Mill Janemba deck and actually hits this and puts it in the drop, I'm playing a deck that just so happens to be able to pull that back out of the drop and play it again. So I'll always be able to grab the Bulma from the drop and then put it into play and then put cards back into my deck. So if my deck gets really low, which it does, then I'll be able to actually put cards back. Then I can combo Bulma away and then put her back into play right afterward and do it again. So I could just keep doing it. And it's very cheap one drop, and Power Burst gets it back for free as well as all of my other shenanigans with Child's Wish and Shenron and World Peace and my leader effect, I think, because I could play all that stuff. All right, so that is the black package. I feel like that's a pretty standard black package with only minuscule changes. I feel like anybody that's playing black is probably playing a combination of these cards, some number of all these cards. If they're playing a Dragon Ball leader or Shenron leader, that's their black package. So I'm running that black package, but I'm trying to go as bare bones as possible so I could make room for a 3-color deck. So the 3-color deck, I've made it a bit more streamlined. I guess we'll start with green since that's the next color here in the window. So I have the 2 standard Spirited SS Trunkses. This is basically the card that you get off of a Child's Wish almost always, meaning that you usually combo it away or discard it with 1-star ball early game so you can actually ensure that it's in the drop, so you can ensure that you can use it off of a Child's Wish. There's a lot of tricks with this card. So you have 2 of these in the deck. You could charge 1 since you play 2, and you are playing green in the deck. Most of the decks that run this don't have any green in their deck. They just cheat this into play. But I could actually charge this for a green if I need a green. But for the most part, I'm not going to charge this. It's just really good going back and forth from the drop to the battle area, giving me my desire cards over and over again. Cards that I'm more likely to charge are going to be these 1-drop blocker Krillins. This is a great card because I have tricks like this where I can just tap my Krillin to block your attack and then actually give my Krillin revenge for 1 green here, and then you basically lose your guy. So if you're ignoring my field of tapped dudes, because my field is going to be huge with tapped dudes everywhere, if you're just swinging at my leader, I could block the attack and then give my guy revenge and kill your guy anyway. So that's the trick. But if you're not kind of doing that, then maybe I charge the Krillin and then not charge the Trunks, and then later in the game I could actually use the Trunks for its actual intended purposes, and it would be pretty clutch. Now there are some matchups where you're going to need this card. Otherwise, you charge this. This is a charge if they're not playing that 2-drop Goku, the one that says 2-drop creatures can't attack. There's also another one that says 1-drop creatures can't attack. But the idea here is, guys, you do actually swing with a lot of 2-drops. Your Yamchas are all 2-drops, for example. So that card will shut you down, and you don't really have a way to stop it other than this card. This card's specifically designed to stop it, and it fits the theme of this specific deck, so you run it in this deck as a 1 of or a 2 of. I like 1 because what are the chances I'm going to get that matchup? And if I dodge that matchup, I can always charge Krillin. But if I get that matchup, I can mulligan for Krillin and then just dominate them. And sideboard probably more because that is a really strong answer to a really strong card. Okay. Now, last couple green cards in my deck. As we saw in the previous video, some number of Chilai, always good. Everyone's playing this card if they're playing green. Even if they're not playing green, they Child's Wish this into play. It's really nuts. It fits Child Wish decks quite well. So I actually talked myself into adding Child's Wish because it's so good with Chilai and also with Trunks and also with Yamcha. So many targets for Child's Wish. So I was really forced to play the Child's Wish when my original deck did not have any. I like it. But the Chilai, an amazing card. If no one knows what it does, basically once per turn, if you KO a card on their side, then yeah, it has to be an opponent's card. So if you KO your opponent's card, then you force them to choose a card in their hand and discard it. That's what happens when you use this. So if you have 2 of these in play, then you trigger both of these autos once per turn. That means on your turn, when you KO their guy, they're dropping 2 cards. That also means on their turn, when they swing at your guy and you give it revenge, or if they swing at your leader and you block and you give it revenge, you also KO'd their card. card, which means that the Chilai also triggers once per turn on their turn as well. So it's really good, okay? And then the very last card in green is the Spice. The Spice, so much spice. Because you're already discarding their hand. You don't want them to have cards. You want them to drop their cards. And so what better way to do that than Cell Absorption? If you don't have a better turn 4 play, you could basically be like, use my leader effect, get a free Child's Wish or World Peace, play a free guy, and then play Cell Absorption. You discard 2 cards. Oh, I have a Shinrun in play. I'll start untapping energy. You see what I'm saying? So it gets really nuts, actually, with this card. So 1 to 2 copies of Cell Absorption. Since I'm actually testing the card, I'm not going to bump it up to 2 because I don't want it to become a clunky addition to the deck. I want it to be a very streamlined addition to the deck where I draw it only when I need it. And so I would never charge this card, more than likely, unless, of course, I already knew that their hand was fucked and they had no plays, then I would charge this and try to Alpha Strike because it doesn't have a combo cost. But yeah, for the most part, this card is going to turn the table on the match in most of the games that I draw into it. Going to be really strong. Much better top deck when you have no cards in hand than a lot of cards you could be getting. I had a Vados deck that I had built earlier because I like Vados as a leader, and I played the green God super combo card, and it says, okay, you want to draw 2 cards? You have to pitch one from your hand. I top decked this. I had no hand size, and I top decked this super combo. Feels bad, man. But in this case, if I top decked Cell Absorption, woo, that's hot. That's hot right there, because that is going to turn the game around. Now, that is the green package. Is very, very streamlined, very niche in most cases, and the way that I have it built, you're pretty much going to see these cards when you need to see them, and in specific matches, you'll be able to mulligan them away, charge them appropriately, etc., and actually have so many different techs available to you in such a small package of cards. This is only like 8 cards right here, and it's such a strong, or 9 cards, and it's such a strong package because you have so many different tricks available with these 9 cards in a very sliver of your green package in your deck. Your deck is mostly going to be all color, but every single color wedge that you have in this deck is going to be tech. Nothing but tech. So, the other tech in the deck is going to be the red package. I really like this. In fact, I am playing a lot of red-green because of the synergy a lot of the red and green cards have, and those cards did make their way into this deck, and in this version, they're still in this deck because they're still really good synergetic cards, and those are the red and green additions to the game from set 5 and Miraculous Revival, and this in particular is really good. Everybody's Pal Yamcha has so many different ways it can be played in this deck. You can cheat it out so many different ways. When you're not cheating it out, you can charge it and play a Puar off of it and then cheat more Yamchas out off of the Puar. Puar is an Earthling. Hello, Earthling. It's a cat. Cats came from Earth. It doesn't say human. It says Earthling. So stop freaking out when I say Puar is an Earthling, because I can grab a Puar off of a Yamcha. Duh. Okay, come on, guys. I had a guy, like, just did not know that this was an Earthling. He's like, I don't, what? What? I'm like, God damn it. Brain, work. It's an Earthling because cats are from Earth. Jesus. Oh, man. But this is the only red cards that I run right here. And I have been running this small red package in this deck, and I've liked it. But I made one small adjustment. Not only do I have the Yamcha Puar combo in the deck, which if you don't know, Yamcha looks at the top 3 just like a Scrambling Assault Son Goten and plays well, doesn't play a card, but he grabs a card off the top 3 almost always in this deck, and then he puts it in your hand. You show your opponent, put it in your hand. Kind of like a Son Goten, and similar energy cost because Goten was a yellow and a colorless. Well, you play the Yamcha off of the Puar when you combo the Puar. This Puar says you pay a red and a colorless instead of a yellow and a colorless, and then you combo him away from the battle area, and then you can play a Yamcha. Any Yamcha. 2-drop. Okay, play this Yamcha. Alright, now I have the Goten effect, more or less. Scrambling Assault Gun, Sun Goten, like I said in my previous video, just got banned because that's how strong it is. It's banned because Yamcha's in the format. You can't have both in the format. That would be nuts. That would be nuts because Goten is a Saiyan Earthling hybrid because he's a half Saiyan. So he's an Earthling because he's a half Earthling, and that means that he's a Yamcha target. That's why he's banned, folks. I just figured this out. I'm confident that this is the best reason to ban Goten right here. Now, the very last card in the red wheel, I just added, and I think it's very spicy, and it is a win condition. This is my finisher. I feel like the deck was lacking a finisher. It had a really good stall, a really good tempo swing, and all of this, but it didn't have what it needed to push for game, and I just added a card that I think that it needs to push for game. That is going to be the Gotenks, excuse me. Now, the Gotenks is really strong, and I've seen it in a lot of Porunga decks. This is a Porunga deck, by the way. When he awakens, he can play a guy from the drop. So what happens is you just exile all 7 of your Dragon Balls, remove them from the game, and then play the Gotenks from the drop. But it's even better than that, because you could actually World Peace the Gotenks into play, and then you could actually get the Ghost tokens, attack with them. Maybe your hand is such that you get the double strike effect on this thing, and then you can combo this away, because you World Peaced it, so on turn 5 you have an energy open, you can combo this away on one of those Ghost tokens, and then you could use the leader effect to just play it again, or use the leader effect to use another world piece and play it again. So you could just play it again twice in a turn. That's really strong. As the game goes forward, you can get more and more of these plays if you keep getting your world piece and your Gotenks is where it needs to be, and it is an Earthling. It's a Saiyan Earthling hybrid, so you can grab it off of a Yamcha. Alright? Fantastic card. Definitely a good finisher for a deck like this where you're just trying to bash them in the face with Earthlings. That's the idea with this deck. Bash you in the face with Earthlings, play every color that I possibly can, and control the fuck out of your hand size at every stage in the game until I'm ready to win. Well, how do you win? This is how you win. The Gotenks is how you're going to win. Now, like I said, this isn't a new idea. I've seen Porunga decks playing the Gotenks as a finisher before, and those decks also ran Bobbity, they were mono red, and they also ran Kefla, the 5-drop Kefla. Now, that has dual attack, is a pretty strong card, but honestly, you guys, I don't think that Kefla is going to fit this deck because it's not an Earthling, whereas the Gotenks is an Earthling. So it's very streamlined, it fits quite nicely in this deck list, actually. And that is it for the red package. So that's a small adjustment that I made to the list. And I kept the yellow package in because I want to troll, so I kept the yellow package in. The yellow package is a bunch of fun cards, you guys. It's a bunch of old men. I've played this card before in several different decks, so I know a lot of different tricks with this card, and this is a nice deck to put this card in. So the Master Roshi and the Master Shin Martial Meister combo is basically like you get both of them in play, you use one of their activate main abilities to tap the other one, so you say activate Shin, tap a Roshi, draw a card. Okay, now activate that tapped Roshi, tap a Shin, draw a card. So that's how it works. So it's 2 steps, you draw 1 card at a time, but you could save time and just say draw 8 like this. You see, like, it's pretty nuts. So why not play this? It's a small yellow package. I can discard it to a 1-star ball. It is a combo cost of 0, and it's a yellow charge. And it draws me cards, and it's board presence, and it's a threat. There's really no way that the opponent has to interact with this card because it's a 6k barrier, and there's a lot of ways to save this card if you need to save it. In my previous decks, I actually really needed the draw, so I was desperate to save this card, so I ran things like Prodigal Dynasty Sun Goten, which allows me to give a 15k power boost during combo to a yellow attacked battle card. So if this card or this card was attacked, I would be able to pump it by 15, that's 21,000, and it usually lived, and that was a 0 plus 5,000 combo card that gave a 10k boost and a 5k combo power. So that was huge for this particular particular card to save this particular card, and it was pretty much an unstoppable combo. When I comboed defensively with that, I usually was going to be just fine and be able to untap and use this effect again. But with this deck, it's kind of the same thing. Like, I have the power burst in the deck to just negate them. While I'm tapped out, I can just do this. Sparking 5, I'll have it. If it dies, I can resummon it with so many different things in this deck. And if it dies, no big deal. I have so many other ways to. I have so many other cards that I could play in this deck. Now, they're probably not even focusing this because of the board that I'll have at this point, like turn 3 or 4. I'll have quite a board, and they really can't handle just attacking this. They have to focus some of the other stuff. So it's going to leech whether or not it has support. So I decided to cut the Prodigal Dynasty Sungotens out to kind of make room for some of the better win conditions in this deck, and I think it was the right call. I don't think it's worth saving these cards unless this is really your only draw. In this deck, it's not. I have all the Dragon Balls that draw. So many other cards that draw. The Shinrons draw. It's nuts how much draw I have in this deck. I have so much draw in this deck that I'm forced to play an Elixir of Immortality in the form of Dangerous Journey Bulma to keep shuffling my cards back into my deck. So that's how much draw this deck has, which basically means you don't have to save any of your mana dorks that or your draw dorks. Any of your one-drop dudes that draw you cards, you don't have to save them. Fuck those guys. They're very difficult to get out there in the first place, but when you do get them out, they work very nice for a couple of turns, and then they're pretty much falling off. Okay, that's all you really need from this guy. And in this deck, you don't even need that. You can just tap it to distract the opponent, and fuck's given. This card is really in the deck. These Martial Meisters are in the deck to troll, dude. These are troll-ass cards. They're literally like, ha, bet you won't waste your attack on me, because I don't even care if you waste your attack on me. It means nothing if you waste your attack on me. That just saves me a whole turn. That's all I need, because I'm going to get a draw on my turn anyway. So, do you want to give me a draw, or do you want to give me a draw? Or would you like to give me more draws? Like, what do you want to do? How many draws am I getting this turn? This card is trolling really hard. So, of course I want to run it. Why not? It's a small yellow package, so I could just splash it in the deck, and works quite nice with all the other cards. They're Earthlings, which means I could just play them off the Yamcha. Well, not play them, but I could grab them out of my deck off the Yamcha and then just play them for 1 yellow. I can charge any of them, and then I have my yellow open. If I want to, like, screw with somebody with a Krillin, maybe they're playing Dragon Ball. Maybe they have a Child's Wish in hand. Maybe I don't want them to have cards in drop. So I just play Krillin, and when I play Krillin, it's like, oh, okay, I'll choose all of those really juicy targets for your World Peace, and I'll put them in the, what is it, the bottom? I'll put them at the bottom of your deck, and I'll draw a card. Draw more cards, why not? And then I'll combo this guy away and Child's Wish him back into play and do it again. So, like, you want to play Tindrop Fu? You want to play Scientist Fu? You want to play Mass Saiyan Mysterious Warrior? Where's your drop? Where are these cards? You see what I'm saying? It's pretty nuts. But it is non-black, so all of the juicy targets that the World Peace decks are playing are all non-black, so Krillin is fantastic to actually splash the deck. This is the reason that I don't run 1 Krillin, I run 2 Krillins, because it is so strong against literally anyone running World Peace. Hey, guys, and it's an Earthling, I gotta run it. I mean, I would run the Black Mass Saiyan because it's so strong against World Peace as well. Well, not World Peace, but specifically it's strong against Child's Wish. The Black Mass Saiyan, Vegeta Zeno, but he's not an Earthling. He's a Saiyan, so I can't really fit him into the deck because the deck is themed around Earthlings. But hey, we've got Krillin. Krillin is here to save the day. He is here in the green package. He's here again in the yellow package. He's everywhere, and he's an Earthling, which the red package can grab. So there's a lot of synergy in the deck because everything wants to be an Earthling, and they're just doing all the different things. So you're dropping cards with the Cell Absorption and all of the Chi-Li's and the discard that I have available and the one-star balls, and then all those cards in your drop, you're just putting them back into your deck with the Krillin. So it's like, fuck's given. I'm going to keep playing my deck, moving cards from all these different zones, deck, hand, drop area, hand again, deck, drop, deck again. Like, there's so many different things that I can do with all these cards. It's a fucking circus. This might as well be a circus deck, okay? This is Porunga's mighty circus at this point, moving forward, okay? And basically, yeah, that's what this deck's capable of doing. And to round it out, I have the, you're going to charge yellow, so you might as well have a really good yellow extra card. This is a really good yellow extra card, you guys. Any overarm cards that they want to play, it's tapped. Any win condition that they want to play, it's tapped again. Let's say they want to go ahead and play Vegeta and give it triple attack, triple strike, all this dumb shit. Well, it's tapped. So, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? It's tapped. It's just gonna be tapped. Everything's tapped. So we've got some juice in all the different colors. We got an extra in green that's very spicy, an extra in yellow that's very spicy, and a really good win condition in red that's very spicy. And then the regular black package. And then everything else is just me trolling with Earthlings. And that's it. Oh, more spice in the form of King Vegeta's surprise attack, of course. So if you're looking for a fun deck to play, a deck that is really fun, a deck that can be played so many different ways, I think you should give this deck a try, this particular list, because there's so many different things that this deck can do. I'm not going to say that its win rate is going to be up there because it's a homebrew and I just threw it together, and I'm sure there's many different things that I can do to improve it. Like I said in my previous video, I was probably going to tweak the deck anyway because it didn't look exactly right, but I wanted to show the concept because, most importantly, I wanted to show it because it had so many colors in it that it looked impossible to play. I'm not claiming to be the first person to play a multicolored deck, but everybody in this game is playing mono or dual color, and they're really hesitant to splash the third color because of the way energy works in this game, unless they're playing like a Zeno deck where they can just tap for any color they want, or a Vegito deck where they can do the same thing. It's really hard to run multiple colors, but I find that this deck, since all of the cards are carefully picked, due to their mana cost being a specific one energy cost. There are exceptions with Krillin, for example, but he is just a situational card for situational cards, and so he's never really going to be played unless against a certain matchup. So you just plan accordingly and charge double green early, and then you're fine. So most of the deck, with minor exceptions, are going to be basically one specific energy cost. And note that you can actually Child's Wish Krillin for 2 colorless and then just have him. So you could combo him away or discard to a ball and then Child's Wish him, and then there you go. Problem is El Solid. Okay, so this deck, because it runs all of these different tricks, it doesn't care what its energy costs are. I will say, after having piloted it, that there's no depending on the matchup, there might be a perfect opening hand for a certain matchup, but since all the matchups are going to be drastically different, and this deck has so much added tech to it that it could just play so many different angles in different matchups, you might not ever see the same opening hand or the same energy that you would ideally want to charge from match to match. Like if you took this to a local tournament or even a big tournament, every single leader that you sit across the table from, you're going to take a look at their leader, you're going to think about all the cards that they might be playing, and you're really going to focus on game one to what they might actually be doing on game one, and then get a feel for the cards that you're going to be weak against that they're definitely playing, and then play around those. Play around those cards and charge the other cards that aren't helping you in that matchup. And that's why it's going to be different from game to game, because that right there, since this deck has so much tech and so many different angles of attack, that right there is going to make the difference to you completely. And if you're not careful, you might charge the wrong card in this deck. It's very important that if your win condition is actually blocking their victory strike guy, for example, I don't know, whatever it is that's trying to kill you, and they have the one guy that's going to do it, and you saw it on game one, then you definitely don't charge King Vegeta's surprise attack because that's going to shit on them. That's just an example. There's so many other examples I could give for the same thing. If they kill you with Scientist Fu in a Hirudegarn deck and it's aggro, then you don't charge Crusher Ball in the next match. Like, this is just obvious stuff. Okay, so that is the deck right there. I'm probably going to make more tweaks to it in the future, but it's very streamlined at this point moving forward. And the only non-Earthlings in the deck, other than obviously the extra cards, are going to be the Chilais and basically the black package. But of course, this Bulma is an Earthling, and the super combos are all Earthlings. So you can grab those off of the Yamcha as well. And everything else is an Earthling, guys. Everything in the deck is an Earthling. It's pretty nuts. So Chilai is the exception, but she's so good that you've just got to play her. I've play tested so many different versions of Red and Green, and it's always been Chilai and Yamcha. And yeah, Chilai's not an Earthling. If she was, that would be fantastic, but she's not. These dragons are also not Earthlings. They're Shinrans, but that's okay. That's the only part of the deck that doesn't really work with Yamcha, and because I'm playing as a Dragon Ball leader, those particular Shinrans in the deck allow me to extend my turn a lot more than, say, an Objection or Senzu Bean might for a lot of the other decks out there. And it's just extremely strong running these Shenrons. I've seen some really clutch plays, like you get a free Shenron, and then on the following turn you untap and you can play another one, and then you can use their effects to untap again and play another one if you want. It's just nuts. Or you, like I said, play the Cell Absorption and dump their hand, and then do some more stuff. Lots of tricks, so many tricks. And then when you're finally ready to kill them, it's quite simple. You basically just buff the hell out of your Gotenks, and you swing that bitch at them, and then, well, actually, no, you swing the ghost tokens at them, the ghost tokens that the Gotenks generates, and then you combo the Gotenks away, and then you can play them again. So you're going to do that as many times as you can afford with whatever tech you have in your hand. Do that as many times as you can afford, comboing the Gotenks away and playing them again just to get the extra ghost tokens, and eventually your hand size is going to be less than the number you need. Everything's going to be double strike at that point, and then you just smash. Done. All the ghost tokens are going to be double strike. And notice that we only have the one Gotenks, and I feel like that's all you need. Don't let them know your strategy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're never going to hardcast this guy, so don't even worry about the 3 red. You're never hardcasting it. So you don't even care about the 3 red. Don't charge 3 red. You could, but that would be an epic mistake. The Earthlings are going to be coming off the Yamcha. Don't charge that shit. Charge 1 for Puar, and then run the package with the 1 red. Charge a double red in the late game if you feel like you don't need any more Earthlings and you have like 13 cards in hand. Then yeah, maybe charge 1 of the Yamchas or Puars. That's fine. Or you don't have any more in deck, so just charge the thing. Whatever, that's fine. But you're eventually going to grab the Gotenks off of the Yamcha. That's what's just going to happen in this deck. I have yet to see a punt on the Yamcha with this particular list. And the list that I had posted prior to this one, there was no punting on the Yamcha. One of the top 3 cards was always, up to this point, was always an Earthling. That's crazy. And look how many, there's very few cards that are not Earthlings. And those aren't even in deck. The Dragon Balls aren't even in deck anymore by the time you start doing this. So very few cards that are not Earthlings. Everything else is kind of an Earthling. So your chances, that looks like 1/3 right there to me. So your chances of getting an Earthling off the top 3 is really high in this deck. So very strong deck tech. Anyway, I'm rambling. Let me know in the comments what you would do to make tweaks to this list. And I'll post another list if I like what you come up with. But in the meantime, I'll be getting back to looking at some of the new fringe decks that I can create, and maybe have another deck with a new leader posted for you guys in the near future. Thanks so much for watching to the end, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.